So we're looking for, I'm sure glad you're on the call today, Woody. We are looking to show default class assignment.
Oh, yeah, sure. So let's do that one first. So preferences, edit preferences, accounting, where you typically go for the class, and you guys will see in enterprise, and this will be in any enterprise. It's not just, you don't just need, advanced inventory or something. This is any core enterprise for 13. You'll have under class tracking the ability under prompt to assign classes to, and you could choose accounts, items, or names. Now, you have to use one of the three, or else there'd be a ton of conflict on the transaction, as you would imagine. You just freak out, right? So one of the three at a time. Accounts, it's income and expense. Items, it's service items, non-inventory parts, inventory parts, probably other charge. I think those are the four, just from memory. And then names, customers, and vendors. Okay. So, for example, if I have accounts here, click OK. And then I go to the chart of accounts itself, and we'll just pick an income and expense account, say like design income. It's a good one. Oh, I always do that. Sorry. Right-click, edit. And then you see the class here. I can choose the default class. So this would be new construction, save and close. And then if I were to, go, a deposit or a journal entry, let's say, would be a good example. Or the items hitting design income. I'm just not sure which item's hitting that. So just to be swift about it. Once I choose design income, you'll see the class populate. And it works, if you have names and you choose vendor, when you're going to write a check, you'll see the class populate for you. So they don't have to remember the class and don't forget, So if you guys don't like pop-ups like me, you can turn off the class prompt pop-up, which can be annoying over time. And now, this will default choose a class for you, just because you want your employees not to forget, right? The staff not to forget to assign a class. So again, one of the three lists. You can't do two or three of the three. It has to be one of the three, else would be tons of conflict. And that's how that one works. Next would be the purchase order, the ability to automatically create purchase orders based on the reorder point, like MB had said, as you guys will know, when you go into your inventory parts here, the reorder point. So if you have reorder points in the file already set up, and there should be some in Rockcastle already set, when you go to one of two reports, either the stock status by item report or the inventory reorder report by vendor, I'll use this one, you'll see the ability to create auto POs. And let me shrink this down so you guys can see this better. Very good. So notice a couple things, too, that MB had mentioned. You can also use the available quantity to order. So if I have some stuff on sales orders like these two, I can then factor that in. And I can also hide zero quantity from reports in Premier and Enterprise. I don't know if we had talked about that, but you'll see that there. But I might want to use the available quantity. Yeah, we talked about that before, but you have to have Maintenance Release 3 in order to see that. Gotcha. Very interesting. Yeah, I'm in R3 right now, so that's why. Okay, and then I'm going to click Create Auto POs. And, so based on the reorder point, it wants me to create this one, but if there had been 5 or 6 or 7, you'd have them in batch. The thing you have to do is you do have to choose the order you want to. You have to put in the quantity. Right? We're not going to factor that yet. And then you just click Create Purchase Orders, and it'll go ahead and create the purchase order. There was actually 3 purchase orders for that particular vendor, so because I have a preferred item on 3 different items, so that's why. Same preferred vendor, I mean. So it creates the purchase orders for me automatically as opposed to doing one at a time from those reports. That is that one. And then, of course, the list limits you covered. Anything, I'm trying to remember. I don't remember anything core enterprise before the advanced inventory.
No, that was it on the demo. Do you want to go back and take a look? Some of the other ones that we didn't cover, the time and expense preferences, the improved center.
Yeah, let's do that. Now, I'm going to be in enterprise doing it just in the essence of time, but you guys know that some of this stuff will be in Pro and Premier as well, although this one is going, this one's in Pro and Premier too. If I go to Edit Preferences, Time and Expense, you have options to mark all time entries as billable and expense entries or not. So this is great because with job costing, you can choose to pass your time and expense through to an invoice, but maybe you have an estimate and you're doing estimate to invoice and estimate to actual, and you're not going to actually be passing anything through because MB has accepted the bid, right? So I'm just going to invoice her for that, right? Unless there's a change order or something. So I don't want to have all this time and expense hanging out in unbilled time and expense status. And it defaulted that way. If you guys remember, if I mark this, it was always like this from like 07. I think, MB, right, it never used to be this way. I think in 07 we added the default that it would always be marked as billable. if you hit an expense or something and assign a job. So if I have this here and it's $200 or whatever, and I go to assign the job here on the bill, the billable box is what we're talking about. And when I hit save and close, it's going to push it into, this, ability where I can go to customer, well, when you go to the invoice anyways, I would have to have that preference here, right? Customer invoice for time and expense, or you'd see the pop-up, and you have all this. This is a great example. All this unbilled time and expense, but I'm not actually going to pass this through the invoice because all these customers, I'm just going to invoice them off the estimate. They've already agreed to pay a certain amount. I just want to assign the job to those fields so I can report on it. So that was the problem. You're not going to go back to the original document where you created it billable and uncheck it all. It's just very time-consuming and manual, and people would just leave it there because why bother? So now we just kind of solved that by you can choose for time and expense entries. I think it doesn't work for items yet. That's soon. And I think for COGS it does. So it'll just not make it billable. It won't check the box. When you're on a timesheet or you're entering some expense and assigned to a customer, the billable box will not be checked. Another cool preference would be reports and graphs. You have the ability, this has been here for a while, name and description on accounts you want to show on reports. What about items, though? So that was your example, right, MB? You have like some item codes for the names, and you put the name in the description field, but you can't see it on reports.
Right.
Right. So now you would be
that
able
or part numbers, is in the name.
Oh, that's a great idea. If I go into, what was I using before, like cabinet pulls, and this is, CP 098765, and that's the number I use. But in here, at least, I have cabinet pulls, right? So when I go to a sales by item report, and there's about 20 different reports that will show this, but sales by item detail cabinet pulls, there's the number. Not everyone's going to know what that is, except maybe the inventory guy. But now I see inventory pulls, cabinet pulls. So that's kind of cool, for sure. And did we cover the, collapse, expand reports, individual lines, things like that? Were we able to demo that at all?
We haven't shown it, so if you want to show that. And the other thing that would be good to show is are the centers and the tabs and the multiple contacts and things like that.
Very good. So you can add your reports to this left navigation panel. Notice I put the left nav panel as a border, and I just hover over it and can get there. I find that that's been faster, and I get more real estate. Honestly, that's why I'm doing it. I like putting it as a border, this left icon bar, but it's really up to you guys. So, right, this is not an enterprise. Not yet. We'd have to open
I forgot about that.
Premiere, yeah. So the collapse expand is not in the enterprise. It is in Pro and Premiere 2013. And basically, the ability just to collapse and expand different rows. So you'll see the expand and collapse ability of the individual rows on the P&L and other reports. Not just this one, but any one, really, for the most part. This is in Pro and Premiere 2013, not in the enterprise. As well as if we look at the centers, go into customers or vendors, but I'll choose customer. The notes are down here, so that we moved them from here down to here. Down at the bottom, you have transactions, contacts, to-dos, and notes. And if I choose Christy here, she should have more than one contact. So you can have primary contacts, secondary. You can choose and manage the contacts. Here are the to-dos, and then here are the notes. And notice that the notes, I can add new notes, and they're unique to the other one. It's not just one long window with a date stamp. I have actually two notes here. So that's a nice little touch. Another thing in the customer record, that preference for the Intuit payment network, as MB was talking about it, if you set the company default that for all your customers you support both bank and credit card charges, well, for Christy, she only does bank, so I can choose for her bank only. So when the link goes on the invoice to Christy, when she clicks on it, there's just an option to put a banking routing number to pay me. And someone asks what the cost of that is. This is 50 cents per payment to the QuickBooks user, the owner of the business. Nothing to your client or anything. They don't pay anything, or your customer. So this is kind of, you don't have to follow the default of the company for each customer. You can have a unique kind of Intuit payment network. Choose nothing or bank and credit or just bank account. Anything else that I'm missing?
No.
Print bills, I mean, that you probably saw that, and that just shows the print option right on the bill, right? And that was a Plus release, so that's there now. Customizing lists. Here's a little one. When you customize the columns, on most lists, they're alphabetical now. So that's like a little touch. It's always hard to find things, so now they're alphabetical A to Z.
Wow, I didn't know that.
List. Yeah. So that's new in 2013 as well. Vendor Center will behave very similar. Those are the key preferences to note. And one other thing with the client data review, just to go back a little, I forgot to mention here. Whoops. How about that? No. Okay. There's the ability to change other names in batch. So the other name types themselves, you don't have to do it from the actual banking other names list one at a time. Annual depreciation, well, that's another name. But hey, Gregory Baxter, he's actually a customer. Here, Tom Ferguson is a vendor, et cetera, and you click OK, and they're changed. That's in the client data review, which would be in your account edition.
Right, so you don't have to be in the client data review to do that, but at least it's a lot more transparent because you could open the other names list and under activities change other name types.
Sure. But you do it one at a time.
And
this way I can do it in a batch.
That's really buried there.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's a very calm list.
Isn't that interesting? There we go. Okay, so now you guys should be seeing QuickBooks Enterprise with Advanced Inventory subscription. So that's the part that we're at right now. Now, Advanced Inventory came out in 2011. It's an add-on subscription to QuickBooks Enterprise Solutions only. In 2011, it came out with the ability to track inventory in multiple locations, so multiple warehouses, multiple trucks, multiple spots in the warehouse. 2012, they added serial or lot number tracking and the ability to track your inventory on a FIFO costing basis rather than average cost. And now what's new in 2013, is shelf and bin location tracking. So now within your warehouse, you actually get as low as shelf and bin location. Barcode scanning is another really neat feature. And then the whole thing with this FIFO is that there's the reports have been improved a little bit over the original reports that were in Enterprise Advanced Inventory 2012. So again, Advanced Inventory includes the multi-inventory location, serial or lot number tracking, and then FIFO accounting method. So our next couple of screenshots are going to show us what the shelf and bin tracking and the barcode scanning look like. So the idea when you create your names and locations for your bins and your shelves is you decide how you're going to name it. So for example, I may say in warehouse, number 1, which is my inventory site, that B101 is aisle B, row 10, bin number 1. Now, these are actually subs of the inventory sites, and we can only go one level in. So when you think about like our chart of accounts, we can go 5 levels in, or our customers and our jobs, we can go different levels in. In this, it's it's not that you're setting up the inventory location, the shelf location as a sub under the inventory location, and the bin locations as a sub underneath the shelf. Shelf and bin is one subset of the actual inventory site. So once you turn that on in Advanced Inventory, you're going to have a new field for location. So you may see that here at the on the screenshot. Now the other thing is when it is first turned on, all of your inventory then is assigned related to shelf and bins. And to get it to the correct shelf or bin, you're going to create an inventory adjustment to do that. You can also assign the default shelf and bin when using your add, edit, multiple list entries, which would be really helpful, might be really helpful to you. So use those tools to get it assigned and then to start using it from this point forward. And then this next screenshot shows the sales order that shows now we have that column with the site and then the particular shelf or bin related to that. Then barcode scanning. So barcode scanning, when you start, it looks a little complicated because you look at this and you have this huge drop-down list of, oh my goodness, I have all these choices on how I want to start. But the fact of the matter is that different clients have been using different ways to track the barcode number, the UPC number or whatever barcode number that they are using. So what QuickBooks is trying to do is give you choices of, do you have that barcode in another field in QuickBooks? So do you have it in the manufacturer's part number? Do you have it in, is that what the item number is? Have you set up some custom fields? So maybe it's in one of those custom fields. So the first thing it says is when you turn it on is, if you already have it in, where is it? So we can transfer it into the correct field. You can also have QuickBooks assign the actual barcoding number there if you want to do that, but you don't have to do that. It's kind of weird when QuickBooks assigns the barcode because it creates a structure that says which starts with QB, saying that it's a QuickBooks assigned barcode, and then it puts a colon after that. So when you typically think of a colon in relationship to QuickBooks, you think about that is creating a sub, right? A sub item, a sub account of your chart of accounts. So you may end up getting some kind of error message. So you might want to go in and either edit out the colon or edit out the actual QB on there. Now, once you turn barcode scanning on, you see in this little screenshot in the red box that you now have a field for the barcode. Now, if you don't, you haven't had QuickBooks assign it, you don't already have the barcodes in, now you can use your barcode scanner, open up the item, and scan get the physical item or the box or whatever, scan it, and it will fill in the barcode for you. Now, when you're talking about scanners, when you're talking about barcode scanning in QuickBooks, the way that you test your scanner, and you can use really inexpensive scanners. I mean, the things that I've been reading is, you could buy a $20 or $30 scanner from Amazon and be able to use it in QuickBooks. So it doesn't have to be a big, expensive scanner. But what it does need to do is to be able to do what I call a hard return after the barcode, meaning it will go to the next line. And the way you test that is when you open up Notepad or Word or something and scan your barcode with the scanner and see, does it move the cursor down to the next line? If it does, then it will work with this feature in QuickBooks Enterprise with the advanced inventory. So it's easy to do. Now, the good thing is that once you have it set up, then you can get reports, right? So you can get a barcode report. I know that I have a friend of mine who's a Ping Golf Club representative, and he carries around a binder with all the barcodes because when he places an order, he's not scanning the golf clubs themselves. So now we can create that binder with this barcode report so it's easy to scan in the things that people might not might be too big to scan or ready to scan or something like that. Now, the beauty of it is that when you're in QuickBooks, you can actually auto-complete the transactions both on the purchase order side, where you can scan them in, or maybe you just enter the purchase order, and then on the item receipt. So I would think that on the item receipt is where you're going to use it a lot, right? You create the purchase order, whether you use the barcode scanner or not, and then when the items come in, that's where you have the barcode scanner, and as you're unpacking these boxes and putting them away and just receiving the items, scanning them in. Now, the cool thing about this is that you don't even have to be on the line item part of this item receipt. If your barcode scanner is one that works with QuickBooks Enterprise Advanced Inventory, it's going to know when you scan it that, oh yeah, this goes down on that bottom, on the bottom part of this item receipt. And so you scan, and then you can check your work easily, because you may be scanning and not actually looking at the computer. When you receive against a purchase order and you say that you're scanning it, because there's a preference or a pop-up that says I am barcoding scanning, there's a button on your item receipt that says compare to the purchase order, and it will show you if there's a discrepancy between what you ordered and what you have scanned in, because maybe you just mis-scanned, or maybe they didn't send you the correct amount. But you want to know that, and you want to be able to go back and check that. So that's kind of a nice new feature, the barcode scanning that you can use. And the last thing that we have here with Advanced Inventory is this new report related to FIFO, because FIFO and average costs are kind of calculated under the hood. We're not really seeing that. This report is going to provide visibility as to how the transaction came up with the total value of the inventory.
Well, let me at least quickly show where you turn on the Advanced Inventory settings. So once you've purchased it, because Advanced Inventory is an added cost, $999 per year regardless of users, and you have to have an active full service plan. So as long as that is set, then you go into Edit Preferences, Items and Inventory, Advanced Inventory Settings, and here's where you can turn on your site, and you can even choose, what the site would be, and I could just do, warehouse, and that's where all my items are going to go to. And I can also choose track locations within the site. It's going to put all my inventory parts. This works for inventory parts and assemblies only. In a bin called unassigned, but I can transfer them later. And I'm going to turn off the warnings for now. Not a pop-up guy. And then here's a serial lot number. I'm not going to turn that on. I'm not going to turn FIFO on. But barcodes, yes. Enable barcode scanning. You open up the wizard. I don't currently track barcodes in QuickBooks, but maybe you did from the manufacturer part number field, or maybe you used a custom field, or it'll pick up the ones you created. I have color and material, or maybe you from the item name field. It's up to you. But if you're using a third party, that would be that case. If you're just starting a barcode scan, you're going to choose I don't currently track. Click Next, and notice all the items that you can generate for barcodes. You can even do discounts. That's kind of cool. That's almost retail. So inventory items there, I click Next, and then Finish, and then click OK, and notice the Enable Barcode Scanning. When MB was talking about 11 barcodes generated, she was talking about the hard return. What I like to do is, and we're probably going to go over, that's okay, hopefully that's acceptable to everybody. Maybe we should give out the second keyword after this at MB, just to be on the safe side. But in the notepad, if you're choosing anything, and I got like a Coke can, see how the cursor went to the second line right away? Hopefully you guys are seeing that. That's a hard return. So as long as it does that, even if it's a wireless scanner, should work with the Enterprise. And I'll just go to my list, the item list, and I'll pick on a particular list here, an item here. We'll do cabinet poles, this one that I changed the name, and here's the barcode it created, but I can just kind of use the barcode I have in my Kleenex box or whatever, and that's my barcode there. And now when I go to, say, a purchase order and go in the workflow, I'm going to create a purchase order for this. I can just go down to the item field and scan, and hopefully you guys are hearing the sound effects. There's the item there, the cabinet pole, and I can put in whatever quantity that I want, and then click Save and Close. So it finds the items. And if you keep scanning it, it'll increment the inventory. Right? So I have this for patent hardware. When I go to receive the items, and this is what MB was talking about as far as if I type in patent here, it's going to see I have a purchase order from today. I am scanning items. So you check that box as well and click OK, and there it is, and there's a received quantity and PO quantity. So I would just start to scan the quantity I receive. It's odd that it's doing that. Should actually do just a number as I'm scanning it. Yeah, so I don't know why it's not working, but you would scan in the quantity, and then you could even compare it to the purchase order. Anything in red means they scan too much or et cetera. So that's how the barcode scanning works. As far as the warehouse location and sites under the inventory menu, transfer inventory, right? You want to transfer it from the location you have. So I'm in the warehouse and I'm moving it to the warehouse. But within the warehouse, I can transfer to different locations, different bins. You see this from bin to bin. So I'm going to choose one that I know has quantity, and I can transfer from the unassigned bin. I'm going to transfer 423 to, a different bin, and show all of them. And I just have to create another bin, and I can transfer all that, and it could be A2, A05, or an aisle or whatever. So this is the row shelf bin tracking, and then what you can do is when you're in the inventory center or running reports, quantity on hand by site, stock status by site, including down to the bin.
And we will go on and finish this and just briefly go through QuickBooks for Mac and online, which we were not going to demo anyways. So there are some really pretty cool features in there. The GuideMe Plus, attached docs. I really like that it's got an automatic and encrypted backup. They've improved their bank reconciliations. You can now batch invoicing, which you can do in QuickBooks Windows. You can import multiple lists, and you have the Intuit payment network integration, which you did not have before. Now, when we're looking at the GuideMe Plus, it is similar to our overlay tips and our coach tips that we have in QuickBooks Desktop and QuickBooks Windows. So it's just, again, to make it easy for folks to do whatever, learn how to actually use QuickBooks Mac. So it just gives them some more screens to look at and some transaction-specific help right on demand. Now, we've had attached docs in of one form or the other with QuickBooks Windows for a long time, but we now have that in QuickBooks Mac where you can attach documents, and you can find the folder for attached documents, and it's got optical character recognition, which is a nice feature to have there. So you can attach to a transaction like you can in QuickBooks for Windows. New backup options in preferences to automatically back up. And the other cool thing, and I would like this in QuickBooks Windows, is to automatically encrypt the file when you do that backup. They finally added the undo bank reconciliation feature in QuickBooks Mac. They added it a little while ago, or it's in QuickBooks Online Accountant. It's been in Windows for quite a few years here. Now we have it in Mac. And then the whole ability to hide the transactions after the statement date, sorting columns, looking at a specific account where the bank reconciliation discrepancies post to. We have that now in the Mac version, as well as batch invoicing. So same item, same price, same description to a whole group of customers. We can use that batch invoicing in QuickBooks Mac and send that information out. And then we also have the ability to import multiple lists into QuickBooks Mac. So customers, vendors, employees, and items, where we can actually cut and paste from Excel and import it. And you can also import contacts from the Mac address book. And when you do that import, you assign whether then they're customers, vendors, or employees. The Intuit Payment Network now works with QuickBooks Mac. So again, we talked about that before a little bit with Windows version and the ability to assign the defaults. Now you have the ability, and I love Intuit Payment Network. I mean, I use it to send off payments because even if I'm not doing it from my QuickBooks file, if I'm doing it from my personal file, I can log on to IPN and say, hey, take money out of my account and pay this person. So maybe I don't want to set it up through online banking for whatever reason. Now, the last screen that we have here is just to show you on QuickBooks Online. There's this whole income list, which is a way to handle all of your customer transactions. It's so much more than income. It's a lot of customer transactions, and it has a money bar that will show you what has not been invoiced, so kind of estimates that haven't been invoiced, what has been not invoiced based on time and cost, so how much money that you might have out there and invoiceable time and cost. It will also show you what money you have not received both open invoices and then overdue invoices, and then what money you have received. So that's that bar that you're seeing across the top of the page. And on the bottom part of that screen, you're seeing a listing of all your transactions, which can be filtered by types of transactions, and within types of transactions, like I can just say, well, I want to look at invoices. No, I just want to look at overdue invoices, and to those overdue invoices, I want to resend them to the client. On the right-hand side, that blue column is particular transactions that I might want to do, related transactions that I might need to do with that particular client, like receive a payment. I love the integration with the bank with QuickBooks Online much more than I like the integration with the bank in QuickBooks Desktop, which is why I like the new batch enter transactions in QuickBooks Desktop. But it is awesome in QuickBooks Online where it's an automatic sync, and it's so easy to identify the transactions and post them to the correct vendor and post them to the correct account. Now, another new feature in QuickBooks Online that just released like the end of October, beginning of November, depending on whether you're a new or existing user, was it always had the ability to do sales tax, and I would recommend it to clients who had a very simple sales tax structure. But now you can do multiple tax rates, you can create sales tax groups, and there's an actual sales tax center. We have time here we're kind of out of time, and I know that some of you have stayed on here, but maybe we can just take a look at the Q&A to see if there are a couple other Q&As that we can get answered.
Pro Advisor, some people have been asking about Pro Advisor and how you become one. If you go to proadvisor.intuit.com, there's an 800 number to call Tucson, and they'll be happy to talk to you about it and even sign you up. And for those asking for training, you can get certified as a Pro Advisor and learn a lot more about QuickBooks, even if you're intermediary level or what have you. Other training options are like MB worked for years for real-world training, which does some great deep dive training on QuickBooks if you're looking for that stuff. Or check out the Sleater Group, or Joe Woodard's. MB is also a member of the National Advisor Network, Joe Woodard's group, and Scaling New Heights. There's tons of networking options and training opportunities and communities you can be involved with to learn more and go deeper in QuickBooks than where you feel you're at now. But Pro Advisor is definitely a great place to start. MB, you've been Pro Advisor for, you're advanced certified, so you've been for years, right? So,
right.
Key to your practice.
Right. It's a very worthwhile program. I mean, even for the software that you get, and then I really think the sense of community, and as I've changed the focus of my practice from tax and accounting to mostly QuickBooks consulting and training, the Find a Pro, being listed on the Find a Pro Advisor side has really helped my practice. I mean, that's where I get most of my referrals.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so check that out if you're not one. And also we're hoping there's some people in here that weren't using QuickBooks Accountant. So if you are consulting with desktop client files, you're suffering the same burden that MB does with people miscoding transactions, and you need to clean up AR and AP and things like that. Account Edition will do that for you in a faster way. So, it's like the chameleon of Pro and Premier. So definitely I think most people agree that Accountant is the key tool, other than Pro Advisor for you guys' practice. Let's see here. Oh, what's new with Statement Writer? Supports 64-bit 64-bit Office, as well as we've updated the little ribbon there. It's not like we've moved stuff around. It's just clearer. It looks more like Office 10, So we're trying to be more modern, right? But the Statement Writer for the big one is 64-bit Excel. Let's see here. Here, Memby, how about this one? So the client can have QuickBooks 2013 for Mac and send me a backup file in Windows format, and I can restore it to my PC, work on it, then make a backup file in Mac and send it back? Yeah, she just totally described round tripping. Absolutely. You can do that. Now, your Mac client will have to stop working. It's not like an accountant's copy import changes or anything like that. Yeah, those are the questions I see. So, again, I do appreciate Yep, I don't say anything new. Just really appreciate you guys' patience, and you guys have a great day there. Hope to see you at another one. Take care.